Hey there, happy Halloween, happy Friday, everyone. Welcome to the Championship Mindset Podcast, where mindset meets reality. Do you want to be in control of your mind or let the world control it? If you think about it, the world also thought Crocs were a trend, right? So, this is for parents, athletes, coaches, anyone who wants to upgrade their mindset, focus on it, manage their emotional states, and perform their best in sports or in life. Life is a sport. I'm your host, Spencer Sen. My sports career ended in an injury, a foot injury, actually. And our guest today is a podiatrist. My identity vanished, evaporated, life spiraled out of control, addiction, alcohol, career collapse, marriage issues. Then God placed the right mind experts in my path who not only healed me, they trained me. Now I help others take back control of their mind and manage their emotional states to perform their best, whether it's sports or life, starting with kids as young as 10 years old. Get their mind right first. We build the right mental foundation, fun, fast, and permanent. We upgrade that software that runs them into mental toughness and total focus, preparing them. And this podcast supports that mission. And today's guest, Dr. Robert Weil, the sports doctor, Dr. Bob, a world class sports podiatrist known for his work with elite athletes. He specializes in orthotics to improve alignment, balance, performance. He's the co-author of Hey Sports Parents and the host of the Sports Doctor radio show, which I had the honor of being on last week. He's treated top tier athletes, performers, leaders across industries, and he has a front row seat to the pressures and pitfalls in today's youth sports culture. Dr. Bob, thanks for being here. It's an honor. Happy Halloween.
See, yeah, same to you. You know, I wore my costume somehow. I think my cape fell off, but it's great to be with you. And it's funny, you know, you talked about your experience, difficulty after an injury. You know, one of the contributors to my book, Robert Andrews, who is the founder of the Institute of Sports Performance in Houston, Texas, got a wall of gold medals because he's worked with the women's gymnastics team. And he specializes in the mental challenges post-injury with athletes. Yeah. That's how much of a big deal this has become. And, you know, I'm celebrating, believe it or not, 45 years on the radio,
Wow.
to one regard or another. Again, the whole idea, you know, youth sports is a big, big business. It involves not only the kids, that we have to continue to remind everybody they're supposed to still be able to have fun in youth sports. It involves their parents. And as I speak, we can picture the overzealous parent on the sidelines or the parent who's a critic on the ride home in the car, and the idea of being able to prevent problems, prevent injuries, and where indicated, enhance performance. And so this is where we might have pediatricians, psychologists, psychiatrists, mental trainers, physical trainers, dealing with all of these aspects like you're talking about, because when you do what you do, you're dealing with the family and you're dealing with the coaches.
That's right. The environments are critical. That's where we get our programming from, right? That's where we learn patterns, beliefs, values, all of these things that really drive who we are at some point. Those are who we are. They don't determine our identity, but they drive it, right?
Well, there's no doubt about it. And this is why, again, the Little League, the world famous Little League, maybe 2 decades ago, woke up and realized, 40% of the kids aren't re-signing. What's going on here? And they realized and found out that there was the pressure and the hassles. You know, when I have referees as guests, they talk about how difficult it is to get referees, even in youth sports, because of the overzealous situations. When we talk about, again, 10, 11, 12-year-olds who are already specializing, my subspecialty is the world of figure skating. I can't believe, Spencer, we just celebrated the 15th year since the young 10-year-old from Naperville, Illinois, Evan Lysacek, won the Olympic gold medal in figure skating. And he
Wow.
was 10
That's
years
amazing.
old and put orthotics in his skates. I'm still seeing 10-year-olds putting orthotics in their skates. And the challenge many times of that boy or girl, I'm always injured. What do you mean you didn't lose those 10 pounds and your daughter's a dancer? So
Right.
we want to get a handle on these kinds of pressures,
That's right.
the winning, sometimes overzealousness. And again, many times when a parent has been an athlete themselves, sometimes we wonder whose attitude are we pushing here?
You mean whose dream are we chasing?
Exactly. Speaking of my young figure skater, I had his mom, Tanya, 2010 on my radio show a month after he won. We were still celebrating. He was also on Dancing with the Stars. But
Nice.
I said to Tanya, how did you know at 10, 11 years old it was his goal, not yours? You knew he was talented. And she said, we had ice time at 6:30 in the morning. I never had to wake the kid up. There he was in the car with his gloves on, and his hat ready to go. I said, in all my years, I've never heard a better answer, Lester.
Yeah, that's amazing. And like I shared with you my injury. The mental impact it had on me, it destroyed most of my adulthood life until I got resources that helped me.
You ran into trouble with pain pills also.
When
had
I
that
had
on top of
surgeries,
it.
not only pain pills, when I had surgeries back then, they may still use it now, Demerol. I got addicted to it in the hospital in the process.
Big challenge in sports medicine. Over the years, we're all familiar with what we've gone through and all of these deaths and all of these problems. And the reality was today, instead of a doctor giving somebody a prescription for 30 opioids after some sort of even minor surgery, much more concerned now, even to the point that sometimes people who have chronic pain have a problem getting the medicine because there's so much pressure on the doctors, which is, with what used to be absolutely, Lester, over prescription of all sorts of pain. That's why if I have a group of 100 young girls and boys who are high school athletes in front of me, I ask them, who's living on Advil?
Right.
Who needs over-the-counter stuff? Over half would raise their hands when they didn't even think it was medicine.
Right.
So this is a big challenge that both of us are in the middle of. And again, the idea, I call it on the sports doctor, the mental game. Whether I'm talking to the best athlete in the world, their parent or coach, or whatever, the mental game could be all of this stuff. Figure skaters 20 years ago did visualization. We couldn't sell that to many of the other sports. They thought it was good. They thought it was voodoo in many instances. Right. Now, you don't have a serious athlete at various levels who's not paying attention to, number one, rest and recovery. Another challenge.
That's
overdoing it. What do you mean you're playing 10 games a week? This kind, and in youth sports, it's overkill. So
that's right.
Again, when you lost that career and all of a sudden you fell off the deep end, I'm proud of you. How you've come back to help others. Good for you.
Yeah. Well, I mean, you either learn or you don't, right? And it's a matter about what do you want. And we were talking earlier too about, programming, the environment. I mean, when you're talking about Advil, Tylenol, you're talking about this or that. You look at TV, you look at radio, you look at all of this stuff that our unconscious mind is hearing that we give into, right? We can, the cool thing is in what I do, whatever can be learned can be unlearned or retrained. That's how powerful.
Well, this is the point. One of my long-term, the late great Jim Vickery, doctor of psychology. He could, in the 80s, he couldn't use the word psychology. It scared people away. He dealt with Northwestern. He dealt with various professional teams, and this is what he would have his advice to sports parents was: number one, don't be a critic. And number two, again, be a good listener. Talk to your son or daughter regarding how are they doing? How's it going with their teammates? How's it going? Oh, you mean
Right.
that arm is still hurting you? Maybe we need to back off. How intense
Yeah,
that you're being. So these
that's
things become very important. And again, the more talented your son or daughter is, the more these pressures. But when we would talk about the mental game, again,
mhm.
we were talking about whether it was sports hypnosis, whether it was visualization, whether it was meditation, all of these weapons that we
Yeah,
would try to add to the equation. And big time sports is really tuned into that. And
yep,
I think we're really getting somewhere with the idea that this, that Dr. Vickery would say you could train these systems, like you just said, what
that's
you've
right.
learned all your life, maybe you could unlearn it. And how do you find that the coach and parents are part of the whole program that you're dealing with when you're in the middle of this with any of these athletes?
Well, that's a great question, and like, there's one that I'm working with right now, and this is definitely a pattern. Okay, one of the things that I help with is reframing. How are we looking at things? So the parents, I need them, like what you were saying, in the communication going, okay, your arm still hurts. When I was a pitcher, I'd pitch whole games, come home, couldn't sleep, it hurt so bad. What was that trying to tell me? Don't come at your child and say, hey, maybe you shouldn't play, maybe you should do this. Hold on to these suggestions and
Well,
ask.
this is where being a good listener comes in. Again,
Exactly.
we're having the idea that as serious as it is, Dr. Vickery would say, and again, Robert Andrews would say, I have these mental experts on from all over the world
Yep.
talking about brain health and all of these kinds of attitudes. Sue Williams is an Australian sports hypnosis who's been a numerous guest of mine. And again,
Yeah.
the whole idea that this is a much, much more powerful tool than
Huge.
anybody ever gave it credit for. And again, many times the communication part. And a lot of times a mom or dad, what do you mean your ankle still hurts? You've been to 4 therapists and blah, blah, blah. And again, and
Right.
I got news for everybody. Almost all repetitive lower extremity problems, your back, your hips or your knees, feet, ankles, are foot related. This is
Yep.
where the role of, is your son or daughter in the right shoe? Are you for your foot
Well, I try
mechanics?
to be.
Here, you might have arches like this, okay? Or
I've
you
seen
might
lots
have
of those.
flat feet like this.
Yeah, right.
Everything changes. So the world of podiatry, I tell every parent or every serious athlete, and the reason I wrote the article in 2020 for Lower
Yeah.
Extremity Review, it was called Pickleball is Physical. Now, when I wrote that article, Spencer, no one knew how to spell the word pickleball, but we were seeing all these seniors who was, hey, man, I'm going to get out on there. Pickleball is, changing direction, running around. It's like, racquetball and tennis. And we needed to get that point across about how, in the education, you couldn't just jump into something without being prepared. So one of the things we tell sports parents all the time, or you, if you look at your history physically, have you always had shin splints? Has your daughter always dealt with knee tendonitis? Have your ankles, like you were saying, was always a problem? Now
Yep.
I got one of the best throwers. She throws the javelin, she throws discus, and she's had turf toe.
Yeah.
Everywhere you look in the NFL, we're talking about either Achilles tendonitis or turf toes. So you want to include podiatry in being able to help you in your discussion about you as a runner, for example, or your son or daughter who's on the track team. Once you add, Spencer, traveling or club teams to the
Yeah.
mix, you now have overkill as one of our biggest challenges.
Yep. That's right.
I
And
would
that
have,
happens pretty
yeah,
early on, doesn't it? I
well,
mean, I'm
again,
seeing it at 10 years old.
yes. Well, this is the other thing I want to tell you and all your listeners. I don't care what your sport is of your son or daughter or you, what your age is or what level you're at. The two things we want you to add to your repertoire off ice or off sport in exercise is, number one, strengthen your feet and ankles. Always include rubber bands are a great way to do it. Ankle injuries is still number one in sports.
Yeah.
I can't tell you how problematic it is. If you want to be quicker, stronger, more explosive, strengthen your feet and ankles. And number two, work on balance. The late, great sports therapist, Bob Guide, I spent 40 years with this guy. He was I met him in the 70s when he was with Nautilus. And he was a past Mr. America, Mr. Universe, Spencer, but he was already now someone that every athlete in the world, the Jimmy Connors, the Walter Paytons, the Jim McMahons, they came to see him to be quicker, stronger, or better prepared for injury. And he would call instability training. Imagine you're standing on a mini tram. You're a hockey player. Next to you is a tennis player. Next to you is a baseball player. He's got his glove on. The hockey player has his hockey stick. The tennis player has the racket, and he's throwing balls at you, and you're balancing barefoot in all areas. He'd say every muscle in your body is on when you're in imbalance. So he would, whether you're 80 years old, balancing on one foot, or your son or daughter is a figure skater, you want to add that to the mix. And if you need to see a physical therapist, so you know what the technique is, absolutely, I recommend that, absolutely, because a lot of times we see that these kids are so busy that they don't get an opportunity to do proper strengthening, you know, again, call it off ice. You know, and sometimes it's, again, like overkill. If you have a kid who's playing tennis 6 days a week, what are they running sprints or doing jumping rope when they're in a class of fitness? It's killing them.
Well, you know, I mean, there's even studies, Dr. Bob, that show side by side 25 athletes going and physically practicing, 25 of them visualizing, breathing, doing things, and it equals the performance.
Yes, they did it with free throws. Yes, free throws were famous for that, where they did that with free throws. Yes, and they saw absolutely
the whole process, right? Everything that you're speaking about is so important. And you said it before, education. But here's the deal. We skip over mindset. We completely skip by it and go, okay, drills, techniques, more, overkill, and then add too many games. You know, I train and redirect the brain to accomplish what you want, whether it's new patterns, beliefs, whatever.
Well, I've been dealing with childhood obesity for over 30 years.
Okay.
Again, going back to kids, going back to attitudes, going back to nutrition, going back to the mental game.
Right.
Like, you know, we were talking about. And in many, many instances, again, once we start getting serious, not only is there a financial burden in some instances, you know, where they're running around, they're on the travel team and all of these other kinds of demands. But then many times, again, we'll see that I spent about 3 years. He used to pitch for the Yankees and Cardinals. His pitching coach was Whitey Ford. Lou Vickery plays 80s. He's 80 in his 80s. He plays tennis. He's written 25 books. He had a radio show on the Panhandle called Lou in the Morning. I'd show up once a month for about 3 years, the Sports Doctor's Inn. Many times when I do segments like this, we call it the Sports Doctor's Inn. And their concern down there was this year-round baseball playing.
Yeah.
And the fact, I had Dr. Leon, the fact that 25% of Tommy John surgeries were on teenagers.
Yeah.
Because of overthrowing.
That's incredibly a lot.
Yes, it is. Again, if you're playing volleyball, you're jumping 12 million times a month. So I wrote an article in the book. It was called The Prodigy Sports. This is very important. We tell parents and coaches all the time, Spencer, we want your child to play numerous sports. We want them to use different parts of the body. We don't want to deal with what we call overuse or over-specialization. And that's great, unless you're a figure skater or unless you're a gymnast or unless you're a ballet dancer. Right. And now soccer and tennis also, where we're seeing very early specialization. And we have to, as parents, understand we can't fight with these kids. If this is what they love to do, then we need to get involved with the situation, again, of having some specialty situations regarding rest and recovery, regarding mindset. regarding these ideas that these tools you're talking about could be learned. Let me ask you, how long does it take, in your experience, for some of these athletes to really get benefits of the whole mindset that you're talking about? Is it, hey, you're going to see results in a week? Is it 3 months? What are your thoughts on that?
It's, you know what? It does not take 21 days. I've seen change happen, like incredible change in 21 seconds. Give you an example. I worked with a pro football receiver. Okay. I said, what do you want? He's like, I want more confidence. When I'm on the line and I've got to go up against the receiver, I just drop in my confidence for some reason. It's all mental. How much do you want? He said 5 times. I gave him 10 times more. It was a 1-hour session.
Yes. Isn't that amazing that a pro athlete,
and today it's still driving him.
Isn't it amazing that even a pro athlete who's already one out of millions, who could get to that level? Also, it's one of the things, again, mentioning the gymnastics team and Robert Andrews, Simone Biles and Michael Phelps, 2 of the best athletes in the world at everything.
That's right.
Both talked about their mental challenges.
That's right.
This was a tremendous weapon. We talked about it after the last few Olympics, where the stigma, and this is what Dr. Vickery would talk about, when you mention psychology, they'd say, what's wrong with, what are you telling me? Something's wrong with me? Instead of saying that it was a big positive tool. And this is why I really like to have individuals like yourself on the Sports Doctor and contribute, again, many times to what you're doing, because this is an overall package many times when we're dealing, again, with overkill and the idea where that we need to include rest and recovery. And again, it's a tough sell. The concept that more is better is still a challenge. Still a challenge. What's been your feedback?
So, I mean, and that's all programming, what we're hearing and seeing around us. And then we, lean into that as kids. I mean, they're just developing. And I say this a lot. We're not taught how to think in school. We're taught what to think. So in my practice, what I'm doing is I'm helping them think how to think, what's important to them, how do they want to get there. So we reshape what their focus is and what their mind is driving them towards.
What are the chances? I wrote an article in 2008 and it was called Let's Get Him Walking. And it was meant to be, because again, in childhood obesity, it was meant to be for school systems to include as a routine class walking, because of the obesity challenges and all of these things. It was a tough sell. But the idea, what's been your experience with the schools and the teachers and the organizations tuning into what you're talking about, which is to pay big attention, the earlier the better, to how this attitude, I mean, look, social media is killing us.
It's killing kids and adults. But for me, what I'm learning in this journey is the culture. The culture is, I don't want to change. The culture is fixated, and what I do is result driven. It's completely result driven. I guarantee results. And that's what people want to see. That's what people need to see in order to change their perceptions permanently. Okay, we're not talking about here you're going to get this and then you're going to go out and do it and then it's going to go away. This is lasting because you're rewiring how you look at it.
Yeah, did you call it mental freedom? What was that term you used?
Well, I call it a lot of things. I help people build their mental gym. I give them mental freedom. Freedom and Healing is the name of my original company, then Championship Mindset. So it depends on what the person wants, and then we.
How much attention do you pay? How much attention do you pay to, again, including the physical side and including the nutritional side when you're working with the Championship Mindset?
Well, I created a program called the iGoat program. So when they're done, they can look at themselves in the mirror and say, "I'm the greatest of all time." Okay?
I like it. I have a hat like that.
That includes identity and leadership, greatness, mindset, and motivation, outstanding confidence, okay, and focus, anxiety and stress mastery, true grit and resilience and diet, okay? all of those things, and then physical. Each person is different when I'm in that program with them. So we customize it to what they want and what they need.
What are some of the
Doesn't matter
sports you deal with?
what's that?
What are some examples of the sports that you are dealing with?
Anything, absolutely anything. Swimming to diving to football, soccer, tennis, running. I mean, everything. And the real truth is, Freedom and Healing Championship Mindset, it's all the same for everybody.
How many
It
of
just
these kids
depends on what
roughly?
people want.
Who's interviewing who? It's funny. How many of these
Right?
kids roughly? Right. How many of these kids roughly have what they're part of what they're dealing with is injury stuff?
Fear, injury. Injury includes the fear because when you get hurt, you remember it, right? It's trauma. And you know, I helped a girl that was a baseball player, tore her Achilles or ACL running to first base. She got healed, went through all that. Then she had a session with me, a couple, because she couldn't run after she hit it. It was a fear in her mind. So we cleared that out and gave her mind what she needed, the confidence, the resilience, the mental toughness and strength to do what she needed to do to be who she wanted. Okay. So it's very fast and then it lasts forever. It doesn't go away.
What kind of exercise? Are you a meditation guy? Are you a visualization guy? What kind of exercises, mental exercises, are typical in your follow-up? In other words, where you might have a session where you might be seeing somebody once a week, twice a month, something like that, and then you might see in the follow-up. What are they doing on their own at home?
Well, what I give them is a customized daily mindset plan that I communicate with them in between and give them suggestions and support between sessions. There's 5 of them for the standard iGoat process. But what that's doing, and in the sessions, we're using hypnosis, relaxing, just talking through and relaxing. They're awake and aware. We use visualization. We create different anchors. We do all kinds of things. We reframe things, reshape how the mind is going to feed that information and drive that person now. And it's natural and it's holistic. Okay. Visualization is a huge tool. Internal dialogue. Okay. Being aware of everything around you, looking for the good in everything first. Everybody is programmed to look at it negatively. Okay. And this goes back to your question earlier about parents, coaches. I'm teaching them look at the positive first and help your child do that the same. So I give them tasks and duties that are simple that are also realigning their mind, okay, because they're part of the problem. The coach is part of the problem. The environment, the patterns, the influences are programming the children, right? So it's not just the child, it's everything around. And then you start getting everybody on the same page. This is a problem. The culture is like they don't want to change. Okay. I'll send emails to parents and they'll ask me a question later. And I'm like, did you read the email I sent you? It says very simply and specifically tells you what to do in that situation. If you're not reading the email, you're not getting the information. So education, what I'm doing is I'm training education and using tools to make it go faster and transformative. And then I teach them at the same time. So it's result driven and guaranteed. Okay. It reshapes.
You know, we want to see many times the cooperation of the pediatric community. We want to see, again, the cooperation of the psychology, the psychiatry. I had on from the Netherlands 2 months ago a Taoist master, Gordon, and what he was talking about was these ideas of 2,500 years ago in the Tao, with simplicity, compassion, empathy. And he was talking about how 2,500-year-old ideas were as important today, even in sports medicine.
Maybe more.
Maybe more that they were all those years ago. And the idea of getting the the medical community, specifically again the pediatric community, to also be in tune, because again, by the time you're dealing with junior high school, the idea that every kid is on a team like in elementary school is over. Maybe
Yep.
now it's 1 out of every 10, 1 out of every 20. What are the rest of the kids doing? And this is,
Right.
again,
Well,
this is a gigantic problem that we're involved with, the explosion of juvenile type 2 diabetes. They had to
right.
change the
There's not
name.
enough movement. There's not enough
No.
activity that's positive,
Yes.
and I mean, it's a massive problem. And then you
Well,
got the,
I'm gonna tune you into this, which is what we call in the sports doctor the new medicine. Everybody, get your pencils out. The new medicine, number one, eat smarter. I'll leave it
yeah,
up to you for there's so much information. Number two, keep moving. Whatever it is, you want to go to the gym, you want to do yoga, Pilates, you want to run, you want to keep moving. Number three, reduce stress. You need to find ways to be paying big attention to like what we're talking about today in Spencer's world, where we're talking about this whole mindset scenario. Do you know that the United States is one of only 2 countries in the world that allows TV advertising of prescription drugs? New
yeah, no,
Zealand's
it's
another one.
a
You
problem.
can't watch television for 2 minutes without either a medicine commercial or a diet commercial. And this is the kind of culture that you were mentioning that is so difficult to break. I
That's
have
right.
holistic people on all the time
It's
in
programming.
in medicine, and this is why we like to include you in our faculty when we're talking about, again, number one, prevent problems, prevent injuries. Number two, enhance performance. Come on, the sports doctor's in, Spencer. How can I help you?
I know, I love it. So one of the things that I talk to people about all the time, regardless, have an open mind, because the reality is hypnosis is a natural process in different parts of our bodies daily. Okay, so visualization, disassociation, association into things. We are the mind is so powerful. We've been given the most powerful computer. We're not trained how to
Well,
use
that's
it.
the awareness. When we talked
Right.
about the
So
3
be
points.
aware. And then
Yes.
the thing is, every single person is already doing the things that we're talking about, but they're doing it negative. They're developing bad habits, bad mental dialogue. We can reverse it.
Oh my gosh, Earl Nightingale, we become what we think about.
That's exactly right.
From
Because what
40
you
years
think
ago.
about is what you're manifesting, and what you manifest is what becomes reality. So if you think negatively, you're going to have more, you're going to create negativity. If you think positively, what I do is I help slow that process down. Let's be aware of what each mental process is per person, reverse engineer it, and then replace it with what you want and who you are. That's why I call it unlocking the code to greatness. Okay. Because all this other stuff was put in that place by all of our experiences around us since we were born. Okay.
And the
Like,
pressure, again, the
yeah,
pressures today,
like,
the
right.
pressures today, I won't even mention the word politics. The pressures today between, again, the post-pandemic, between the situation of the pain pill nightmares that we've watched, the idea of social media. We are deluged in so many ways, and so we try to want to include the mental game, and we
Right.
want to be aware of how important it is, and then we want educators like you talking about the whole point of it, and then we need to have these groups take action that we try to feature on the show all the time, like some, like we were talking about the National Alliance of Youth Sports, or what used to be called iSport 360, which was working on communication with parents, coaches, and kids, and trying to remember, hey, everybody, kids are supposed to have a good time.
That's right. And the
It's
thing
supposed to
is,
be fun.
the unconscious mind records and remembers everything, even if you're not aware of it. If you're in a room, whatever is happening around you, the unconscious mind is recording. So put yourself in situations where you're feeding your mind who you want to be, what you want to be in life, and that shift will start happening fast.
Yes.
What I do
just
makes
include
it
it
faster.
Just try to include it. And I remember, again, another famous therapist friend of mine, he said, you cannot be aggravated or pissed off while you're exercising. It's very difficult. So if you can include the exercise, your whole mind is in a different place compared to if you're not doing anything. And this is why the keep moving is such an important part. And this is why we like to really pay big attention to the mental game that you're in the middle of it.
Hey, I appreciate you coming on today, Dr. Bob. I had a great time talking with you last week on your show. And again, today, fantastic information.
Yeah, we like to trade. We like to trade shows. If people want to find out more about me, they go to thesportsdoctorradio.com and they'll find out whatever they want to find out regarding the show and some of the different history and some of these exciting things we've been a part of. And thank you for trading shows. And we'll look forward to taking part in the future. You always want to include a segment that the sports doctor's in, Spencer.
There you go. I love it. All right. And anyone else watching, listening, thank you for being here. Make sure to follow, like, subscribe, all those things. YouTube Championship Mindset -1, Facebook Championship Mindset, Instagram Championship Mindset 1, LinkedIn Spencer Sen. And if you or your young athlete are ready to upgrade the mind or just learn more from me, for more confidence, focus, mental toughness, for real performance in life and in sports, both at the same time, go to freedomandhealing.com, schedule a free discovery call, and we'll talk it through. It's fast, it's fun, it's permanent, life-changing, game-changing. Okay, so until next time, elevate your mind, elevate your game, elevate your life. Stay focused on your mindset. Improve just 2% a day, and you'll be 60% better in 30 days.
And 2 steps quicker. Thanks, Spencer.
Absolutely. Thank you.